some I think it's Kyrgyz language. I took it back from Kyrgyzstan. He has a certificate. I got this from a very important person from Kyrgyzstan very recently, just completely by luck. So we take it out. It's pretty heavy. I'll put this down. You can see, like it says, Kyrgyzstan, 1,000 grams, fine gold, 99.9.9, and a serial number. Try it.
Yes. Yeah, it's heavy.
Is it real gold or no?
Well, I don't know. I mean, is this what you're trying to? I mean.
There we go. Peter got caught a little bit there. I thought that was really genius what CZ did there, handing him the gold. There are obviously a lot of ways that Bitcoin is better than gold, especially for day-to-day use. I mean, let's be real. But that was a pretty cool gotcha moment there. But I'm not necessarily, bearish on gold either. We're going to talk about gold. We're going to talk about silver. I'm also going to be talking about an indicator that we might be seeing a Santa rally for Bitcoin through the end of this year. Let's talk about some of the indicators I'm looking for as far as when alt season could be coming and really risk on appetite would be increasing. Something that I'm keeping a close eye on there. Obviously, we'll be talking about the DePIN sector, some updates across the board there. There's been a lot that's happened this week. And I'm going to be going over a little bit of a lesson going into the weekend, which is, I think, timely. What is a CME gap? You guys have probably seen it posted all over the place. The CME gap has to be closed. I'm going to explain just what that is and give a shout out to some of my good friends here at the end of the show today. Thank you all for joining. It is Friday, December 5th. Unbelievable. I'm back in Chicago. Man, it is pretty freaking cold and it is snowy. Let me tell you. Hopefully you are in a warmer place. But let's lead off with a little bit of macro, guys. We had some numbers come in today. We had the PCE price index, which is what the Fed tends to look at for inflation. It says it rose about as expected in September. These are obviously a little bit delayed because of the government shutdown. Core PCE came in actually slightly lower than expectations. And it said that consumer confidence rose for the first time in 5 months as respondents' inflation expectations improved. So those are all good things. Said that we had some job numbers come in. U.S. companies cut 71,000 jobs last month, the worst since November of 2022. That said, new jobless claims fell to their lowest since September 2022. So a little bit of conflicting stuff going on there. The main thing, though, is that nothing out of expectations here. And that is big news for the Fed meeting, which is in 5 days. We've seen a slight tick up now to 94% chance of a quarter point cut. So the expectation is right now, absolutely, that we will get a quarter point cut in 5 days. Let's hope that happens, because if it doesn't, that would be bad for markets. And considering 94% chance of that being baked in. Some other big news of the day: Netflix acquiring Warner Bros. For $82.7 billion. That is nuts, man. That said, we'll see if it stands. We've got people on both sides of the aisle. On one end, you've got Elizabeth Warren saying, hey, this looks like an anti-monopoly nightmare. Her stance is it could force you into higher prices, fewer choices over what and how you watch, and may put American workers at risk. Well, on the total other end of the spectrum, you have alt-right Matt Gaetz. He's like, Trump must stop this. Antitrust violation and deeply harmful to the marketplace. He doesn't care so much about people's consumer rights as much as, well, it might create the woke nightmare for the media landscape. So either way, you've got people on both ends of the spectrum very much against this deal. So we will see if it actually goes through. But that was some big news today. Other big news: SpaceX beginning a secondary share sale at $800 billion valuation. What? That's crazy, man. That is more than OpenAI. And it's the most valuable private company in the world. This is per Wall Street Journal. That is freaking crazy. You might have seen this news. Michael Dell pledged $6.25 billion. Trump started the fund for children to have a retirement fund started for them, which I think is a good idea, really. Michael Dell pledged $6.25 billion. I believe the stipulations are you have to be located in a zip code that is below like a household income of 150,000 or 125,000. But it sounds like there's gonna be a lot of other institutions, other large donors that are probably going to hop on board and add to this. Obviously, I think it's going to be great for setting kids up if they get investments that early in their life. Those are going to compound over time. That's a freaking really cool idea. It's also going to put a lot of money into the stock market. That's not going to be sold. So you consider that part of it as well. But the big winner, guys, has been silver. This has been one of the best charts that I've seen in quite some time. In fact, if you add this, oh man, if we add this line here, this is a high time frame chart. Let me reload this because that's not coming up on there. This just broke a resistance level, multi-decade resistance level, I should add. Let's get silver back up here. And it's looking like it could be off to the races, guys. I actually did open. Oh, come on. Here we go. I did open a position in my retirement account a while back on silver. Well, what the heck? Come on, TradingView. What are you doing? Here, is that the one I just opened that one? Now, here we go. This is what I'm looking for. There we go. So you check this out. Like this, remove that one. This was the resistance all the way back to 1978, guys. Like this was a multi-decade resistance. It topped out there, hit it again back in 2011, and here we are, broke it into support. This is freaking nuts. Absolutely insane chart. What I put my position into was this AGQ Ultra Silver Fund. It's a 2x leverage silver fund. I bought it earlier this year. Shit's up like 40% already, man. And it, I think, can continue going. Deepin says, high quality internet. Yes, I am back. I am back in Chicago. My internet was not so good in St. Louis, I'll tell you that much. But it's good to be back on my normal setup. But yeah, man, silver is set to freaking continue running, in my opinion. That chart just looks so juicy. And then when you look at gold, I thought this was interesting on Polymarket. Gold or ETH, what's the first to 5K right now? Gold is in the lead at 57%. Man, that's crazy. Speaking of the prediction markets, though, Kalshi, man, they are making some moves, guys. They are now partnered with CNBC, and this is just days after they announced the CNN deal. So pretty nuts there. If you look at their valuation, they just were valued at $12 billion, I think, or no, $11 billion in this recent valuation. Just 2 months ago, they raised capital at a $5 billion valuation. They more than doubled their valuation in the last 2 months. Polymarket currently valued between 12 and $15 billion. But guys, they're not the only ones. When you look at Forbes is predicting that they're predicting that the prediction market is going to be the world's next multi-trillion-dollar market. Absolutely insane. And it's not just Polymarket and Kalshi. Robinhood's getting in the game as well. They disclosed that their prediction markets, their predictive contracts have processed billions in the last 2 quarters. But up and coming, we know who it is Crypto.com. They say that Crypto.com might actually be the winner at the end of the day. It said that there's really 3 reasons for that. The platform doesn't need to teach people how to trade. Everyone's trading on their platform already. It doesn't need to manufacture engagement. They already have that. And it doesn't need to hunt for liquidity. They already have that as well. So there is a case to be made that Crypto.com could actually, coming up from behind, could end up taking over the lead here when it comes to prediction markets. But I'll tell you this much. There are a lot of people predicting that prediction markets could become larger than the stock market, larger than equities. So stocks trade what exists. Predictive markets trade what may happen. Equities depend on balance sheets. Predictive contracts depend on probability. The difference is critical. Predictive markets can scale differently. Traditional markets are constrained by the number of companies and assets available for trade. Predictive markets have no such limitation. If something can happen, it can be priced. And I'll tell you what, I use Polymarket a lot on my live streams, obviously. And a lot of that is because it is incredibly accurate. I mean, check this out. Within a month, 91.4% accuracy on outcomes. Within 4 hours, 95.1% accuracy. So I look at Polymarket quite a bit, and actually I use that when like creating my thesis around market conditions and my investment outlooks. I use it a lot in these live streams because it is very accurate and it gives you a really good gauge on what other people are thinking, which is important when you're looking at markets. You want to be able to read the tea leaves, if you will. Moving over though to Bitcoin, I want to pull up this guy. He was mining Bitcoin back in 2011 from his bedroom, mining 1 Bitcoin per day with an $800 bedroom setup, man. Check this video out.
Eric Elliott. I'm an internet developer. I am a Bitcoin miner. Bitcoin is a decentralized cryptocurrency, basically a virtual form of money. Bitcoin is controlled by a software algorithm. In order to control the amount of Bitcoins that are released into the economy, the algorithm determines that there's only so many that are mined during a certain period of time. Currently, that is 25 Bitcoins are found about every 10 minutes or so. Those people that are mining contribute to the overall, computing power of the network. You're only going to get rewarded, in essence, whatever percentage of that power your computer.
Look at that thing.
So those are the graphics cards right there. Those are what are doing all the work. Most miners are probably earning fractions of Bitcoins. Standard computer that you basically see any gamer having. I started mining in 2011, so I invested about $800 to build this computer. At the time when I put it online, I was probably mining, 1 Bitcoin a day, something like that. In essence, all you're doing is downloading software and running software that's running 24/7 that are accepting these mathematical problems, solving the mathematical problems, and sending the results back up to, to a server.
Well, it's one thing to be early, but can you diamond hand? Okay, that's the other question. We're early to deep in right now. I'm sure there are people that are growing frustrated. They're selling their bags right now while we're in extreme fear. What about Eric? Oh, man. I had to look it up. And he responded to this post to what's your biggest crypto-related screw-up? He's like, I mined Bitcoin in 2010. I stopped mining because I thought it wouldn't be profitable. I lost the computer. This is back in 2020. Said, I'm dreading the regret I'll feel when it hits 100K during the next 10X surge. And we did hit 100K. Oh, man. Poor Eric. Man, it is so difficult. It is so difficult to be early and have that foresight, but also diamond hand, man. But gosh, isn't that just crazy? Guy was mining a Bitcoin every day. Just lost his computer. Oh, that must be painful. Well, what about other crypto news? How about this? This is probably the biggest news actually of the week, guys. I haven't seen a lot of people. I'm going to reshare to get the audio on this. I haven't seen a lot of people covering this. I don't know why, but this is massive news. I'm going to break down the implications of what this means with this government-backed crypto trading platform.
Goes mainstream, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission announcing the launch of the first government-supervised crypto trading platform. It allows Americans to instantly buy, sell, and finance digital assets. Fox Business's Darren Botello, live in Washington with all the details. Darren, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Maria. Of course, right now, as we all know, you can buy and sell crypto online already, but this is the first time, like you said, a spot trading platform is getting the full backing of the federal government. So why does this even matter to investors that the CFTC is backing this new Bitnomial platform? These other platforms are legally operating, but here's the catch, Maria. They're often called the Wild West. Basically, it's buyer beware. We've seen this with the collapse of FTX and customers eventually losing out on huge profits they would have had their money stayed safe in the market. They would have had it. Now with this Bitnomial platform, there are stricter standards for transparency, security, and consumer protection to prevent an FTX-style collapse. We spoke exclusively with acting CFTC Chairman Caroline Pham ahead of this new platform going live.
Not only do we want Americans to come back home and to be trading here where they know that they have the protections that they deserve, but again, that means that American companies that are involved in the crypto industry, they're going to want to build here. They're going to want to invest here. They're going to want to hire here. So this is overall a net benefit to the economy.
And Bitnomial tells us ahead of their announcement, the actual launch of the platform is set for next week.
Next week. And this does a really good job. This guy does a really good job of breaking down the implications of this. He said the United States just ended the offshore crypto era, December 4th. So this is from yesterday. The CFTC has authorized this spot Bitcoin and cryptocurrency trading on federally regulated exchanges for the first time in American history. Says acting chairman invoked existing Commodity Exchange Act authority requiring leverage retail commodity trading occur only on future exchanges. No new legislation, no congressional delay, immediate implementation. Will go live on December 9th. Leverage spot, perps, futures, options, portfolio margining, one venue, full federal oversight. It says institutional barriers dissolve overnight. Well, pension funds, banks, sovereign wealth, all now have compliant access to spot crypto on platforms that have operated as the gold standard for nearly a century. So watch for Bitnomial volumes exceeding 1 billion monthly by Q1 2026. Watch for CME integration announcements. Watch for offshore exchange user migration accelerating through the first half of 2026. And I thought this was worth bringing up as well. Marty Party was saying, hey, you couple that with the market structure bill coming, it's going to make wash trading illegal. It's going to end that liquidity hunting and artificial market making we've been seeing. We see it so fucking much recently, man. These market makers are looking at these liquidation levels, pumping Bitcoin up, liquidating people, moving it back down, liquidating people. So very soon, maybe we won't see a complete end to it, but we'll see a lot less of it. And I think that's going to be very welcome for all of us. So I'm very excited about that. Of course, this is all at the same time that $11 trillion Vanguard is opening access to crypto ETFs to its 50 million clients. $1.8 trillion Bank of America is recommending, it's really 1 to 4% allocation in crypto. $12 trillion Charles Schwab will now allow its clients to buy spot directly. A lot of big things coming. Obviously, we saw quite a dip over the last month or two following the October 10th events. You guys have a video on my YouTube channel breaking down what happened with October 10th and what happened with Binance's internal pricing system. It's now fixed. But I thought this is interesting, right? Talking about Larry Fink and who was buying the dip.
We're seeing more and more legitimate long-only investors investing in it. There was an article about a foundation, endowment just bought a lot of IBIT. But I can tell you there are a number of sovereign funds that are standing by. They're adding incrementally at 120, at 100. I know they bought more in the 80s. Right. That's fine. And they're establishing a longer position. And you own it over years. This is not a trade. You own it for a purpose.
So this kind of coincides with Jordy Visser's silent IPO, which I put a video out on as well recently. It's, I think, my most recently posted video on my channel, talking about how there's going to be long-term holders. We're getting sovereign wealth funds, right? We're getting some of this old money that just wants to get some exposure to Bitcoin. People are stepping in. People are buying the dip. The smart money's buying the dip while everyone else is capitulating. But looking at the Bitcoin chart, really, I mean, the critical level, and I joined Brandon's group, Brandon Wong. That guy's made, I think, close to 9 figures this year at this point. The critical level he's looking at is 93.5 into Reclaim. And the reason why, I think his strategy, his trading strategy makes a lot of sense. It's not complicated. You see a lot of people that, look at like 50 different trends on charts. He basically looks at the long time frame on these charts, and he looks for, okay, what does the structure look like? Are we seeing higher highs and higher lows, or lower highs and lower lows? And what are the critical levels that we need to pay attention to? In this case, 93.5, well, when we broke out of this last downtrend over here, we broke through this 93.5 level. It was critical, turning into support. You can see we bounced off it, and that started the uptrend again. We're seeing the exact same thing here, guys, months later, right? So he looks back in time for these critical levels. Same thing, downtrend. If we can break above, we bounced off it. We bounced off it a couple times, wicked up there, bounced off again. If we can reclaim 93.5 and turn that into support and kind of, move up again, we will break back into an uptrend. And I think from there, he's looking at 98 to low hundreds from that point. So that is the level to pay attention to. In the meantime, he's not really trading much. He's trading silver. That's about it. He's like, dude, the sideways chop, there's not really any great setups at the moment. So just kind of hanging tight. But I'll tell you what, there is some reason to be optimistic about a potential standstill rally through the end of the year. And it has to do with this metric. It's called the Bitcoin capitulation metric. It suggests that there could be a major buying opportunity in December. So this metric reflects the level of pain investors are experiencing. So when investors suffer significant losses, they often capitulate and sell their holdings aggressively. These periods usually align with the formation of local bottoms. They help identify potential reversal points where supply moves from weak hands to strong hands, which is exactly what we've been seeing. We see strong hands buying the dip. But if you look at this red bar right here, marked in red here, so it says historical data shows that peaks in this metric typically coincide with price bottoms. This happened back in Q3 of 2024 and again in Q2 of 2025. It says recently, this metric surged to its highest level ever in history. Right here. The highest we've ever seen. I said many analysts are now paying close attention. They expect a strong reversal in Bitcoin's price toward the end of the year. In addition, stablecoin market capitalization has begun to rise again. After 4 consecutive weeks of decline, this renewed growth strengthens bullish expectations. And since stablecoins provide the market's primary liquidity, this rebound may signal that investors are preparing to buy the dip. And this is absolutely true. You see it here on TradingView. This is the stablecoin market cap. 4 weeks in a row, we saw a downtrend. We are at 2 weeks now into an uptrend here. That is great news, guys. That is great news. That is money that people are going to be using to buy the dip. Now, when it comes to alts, and this is something I led off with, the big thing I'm paying attention to is the Russell 2000. And in particular, I don't know why my levels got taken away here. Well, anyway, in particular, if we can break above this resistance, and the reason I bring up Russell 2000 is small caps. It's a good indicator of risk on appetite. And we've hit this all-time high. We bounced off it a couple times. This is the chart I'm paying attention to. This is going to show that risk appetite is back. And just to show you the correlation here, guys, this is Russell 2000 and Ethereum. Incredibly strong correlation. So we are starting to see a bounce in the Russell 2000, but I want to see it break out to new all-time highs. That would be a huge indicator that we're about to see alts potentially making a run again. So something to pay attention to for sure. The other thing I want to bring up, and I'm going to post this as a separate video on my channel this weekend. I go into it on this video on X, though, that I posted. I did cover it on a live stream. I talk about all the liquidity that's going to be coming into markets. We got the rate cut in 5 days. The new Fed chair, Kevin Hassett, that's expected to take over in May. Super dove. Okay, we're going to see a lot of rate cuts, a lot of quantitative easing. He's also a huge crypto bull. He's very well connected with Coinbase. He has a lot of crypto holdings himself. We have the SLR change coming up with our banking system. So as of January, our banks are going to be able to hold a lot more treasuries. It's going to push yields down. It's also going to allow them to lend more, so add liquidity to markets. Lower yields are obviously very good for liquidity in markets. We have the chance of having a stimulus check next summer leading into the midterms. You know what happened last time that we had stimulus checks? And the Clarity Act is expected to happen early next year. So that would absolutely bring a lot of liquidity into the markets that's been sidelined to this point. So there's a lot lining up from a macro standpoint for liquidity to return to markets. Isn't XRP going to take over everything? Oh, man. I've been holding a little bit of XRP since like 2020. And I'm not planning on adding to it. Take a guess what happens when you invert the colors of the ChatGPT logo. No. I don't know what that's going to do. It's probably inappropriate, though, since it's from Joe. All right, let's talk about a little bit about Deepan. This actually was posted by our good friend Deepan Crypto. Shout out to him. Probably waiting until January so they can claim their losses. The SLR, January 1st, is It's when the banks are allowed to officially start to take on those new rules. They don't have to, but they're allowed to based on the regulation. So it says this Entre Capital introduces $300 million fund with focus on AI agents and DePIN. It says here that the fund will target investments from pre-seed through Series A, backing founders building the foundational layers for mainstream Web3 adoption. And it said that decentralized physical infrastructure networks, DePIN, is one of those areas they're going to be investing. Add them to the list, man. Solana has been investing in a lot of DePIN projects recently, and we are seeing DePIN really all over the place, getting a lot of attention, man. So you love to see it. I want to bring up a Cash Network. They're a decentralized compute network. They implemented a couple changes recently. So number one, they have the new smart contracts. So it allows for quick updates via contract upgrades, whereas it used to take weeks for them to have these upgrades. The other thing they did is they integrated a reliable pricing feed, so they can get real-time pricing, which can be core requirement for calculating correct mint price. So they're introducing a new burn and mint equilibrium to give additional utility to the token. We're seeing more and more projects do this. I think it's really important. The other thing that Akash brought up, and I would highly recommend you guys watch this interview, by the way, if you haven't, the Jensen Huang and Joe Rogan interview. It's like 2.5 hours. But guys, it is fascinating. Like hearing the whole story about NVIDIA and how many times they almost went belly up. I mean, it's fucking nuts. Sega gave them like an investment, and otherwise they would have been dead to rights. Then Sega ended up selling their stake as soon as they went public. If they'd held it today, their Sega stake would be worth about $1 trillion. Just, it's a crazy interview. One of the things that came up though is that the energy grid can't handle the upcoming move for AI in these data centers. Says that data centers in Virginia are already delayed. By the way, interesting fun fact about Virginia. I forget what percentage, like 80% or something of that nature, a really high percentage of the world's internet goes through Virginia. Kind of crazy. Says that we're seeing rolling blackouts in California and AI projects stalled because power simply isn't there. If you subscribe to my channel, you may have watched this video. I talk about exactly that. How the electricity is going to be the factor when it comes to the AI race. Highly encourage you guys to watch that. And it talks about nuclear, solar, some of the other opportunities there. Greg, their founder, is actually going to be coming on for an interview on my channel probably in January. We're trying to work out the date right now. So that'll be exciting to have them on. I think Cash Network's a very solid project. I think a lot of these GPU projects, we saw them really pump because of hype. Now a lot of them are, have $10+ million in revenue. So I think, when the market comes back, it's actually going to be fundamentals that are going to support the price versus just really the price pumping for no reason. Let's see here. Hivemapper. Some interesting stuff going on there. They had a big month. They had 12 million honey burned, new monthly all-time high. They are doing open market buys and burns. They had a net deflationary period, so they have a lot of buybacks going on. Consumption rewards are higher. I've seen actually a lot of people sending me screenshots of their consumption rewards, so that's pretty nuts. They have the $10 per month BLTE plan powered by Helium. I have a SIM card. Actually, I put into my B device about a week ago. As far as I can tell, it's working. We'll find out when I get the rewards for the driving I've been doing. Solana invested into Hivemapper. They've got this buyback program now. If you have an old HTC, so you can get a honey bonus. The other thing I'll say is I've been talking to Fractals, and they're talking with Hivemapper about building out a token splitting tool. I'm also talking about some other things with Ariel over at Hivemapper that I think people might be excited about. We'll see how it all plays out. But I think that fundamentals are there. I think now they finally are really driving the utility to the token. I think there's a couple other things that need to be sorted out for Hivemapper, but I think as market conditions improve, they could bounce back for sure, man. GeoNet announced their big collaboration with Solana and their Seeker phone. So that's pretty exciting. It says, yes, GeoNet and Seeker, they're about to go nuclear, precision, location, plus mobile crypto rails. Guys, there's going to be some pretty cool stuff happening with Solana, their Seeker phone, and GeoNet. And not just GeoNet, Rover's getting in on the fun as well. So they're going to be featured in this project. So pretty cool stuff there. If you have a Seeker phone, you'll be able to interact with both of those projects through their infrastructure. 375 AI. If you're in New York, update your app. One of the things that was mentioned from Harry Dewhurst and something that I covered either earlier this week or last week is that I think they're going to add a lot of utility through their app in ways that you guys might be shocked by. He announced that they're working with some marketing groups that work in conjunction with the likes of, McDonald's and some of the biggest brands you've seen out there. So I would imagine there's going to be some type of overlap there. I don't know what it looks like, but if you're in New York, check that out, man. 375 AI is one of the more promising projects, and at its current market cap, I've been dollar cost averaging every day. It reminds me of Nosana back in 2023. That went on to do about 450x for me. I don't know that that's in the cards for 375 AI, but the risk reward, in my opinion, is freaking nuts. So I've been adding quite a bag there. Daba sitting at 72,000 hotspots deployed. I had their CEO on my space earlier this week on Tuesday. Highly encourage y'all to check that out. We asked them a lot of tough questions and had some really good answers. I think Daba, their TGE likely coming up this month, actually. So there should be some announcements around that soon, but they now have 46 LCOs installing for them. So pretty freaking awesome stuff there. So they've hit some pretty crazy milestones. Helium, 2 million daily active users, 77,000 terabytes. All right. Yeah, 77,000 terabytes a day. Mobile hotspots now at 120,000. I know a lot of deployers that are getting these things set up everywhere. So love to see it. Helium's been highlighted freaking everywhere now. New York Stock Exchange. Frank Mong was on The Street. Masari highlighted them in their Q3 reports. The list goes on and on, guys. Like the waves that Helium's making. And then I would say there's opportunity that we might have a digital asset treasury. The first for a DePIN project. They hinted at it in their announcement about doing open market buys and burns. That would be crazy, man. That would be, a way for traditional investors through their retirement accounts, through their IRAs to get access to directly to Helium in the HNT token. So that's freaking nuts, man. Aoki. Oh, and actually they did have a little collaboration with Aoki. I should add here. Helium podcast with Brood Sugar. That is Nils there with Aoki. Thoughts on 375 staking? Well, are they still open? They didn't have that much to fill, guys. Let's take a look at that real quick. 375 AI staking program. There was not. I need to find the link. Ooh, where is it? The ETH airdrop. Where is it? I need to find the link here to see if it might be filled, guys. I covered this earlier in the week. Let me go to their X page and see if I can pull it up there. They have pretty good APIs, but there's not, or APYs rather. There's not a huge, here it is. So you have 6, 12, 18 month pools. Let's go to their website. Well, it's not there. Where's the foundation website? It's in here. There we go. There it is. Boom. Oh, this is filled already. Look at that. Filled. So the only one that's left, guys, is 6 months. So hopefully you got in. I did cover it earlier this week, but they filled quickly. So maybe they'll open more. I'm sure maybe they're gauging appetite to start with, but guys, 47% or 45% rather on an 18-month, 30% on 12-month, and 15 on 6-month. Ain't bad. It's not a bad call at all because that gives you flexibility. Let's say we have like a massive run up in the next 6 months, then you still have some tokens that if you want to take some profits, you can. Look at Brian over here taking up the whole freaking pool. Damn, man. Just kidding. Oh, but yeah. So those are my thoughts. You can still get in on the 6 month. But speaking of Aoki, real customers. This is one of their largest supermarket chains over in Asia. They said, hey, we want to see if you can, your domains can be more photorealistic than our point clouds. So you can see the shelves actually look like. So, hey, they're like, asking, we shall see. And that's what they're doing. They're working on getting more realistic views of the shelves. So pretty cool. That's what I love about the startup space, man, and teams that can execute. I've worked for startups that can execute. I've worked on other ones that can't. But being able to get feedback like this and actually make things happen is freaking cool, man. And Aoki continues to deliver. Love what they're doing. Speaking of robotics, Ex Machina. I'm bringing their founder on, and not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, and we're going to have some other guests along with them. But Ex Machina, it allows you to pool capital, invest, and get in on some of these robotics investments. So pretty freaking nuts, man. You can see they vote on the different investments. So some of the prior ones, they had a stake in 1X. You can see another one you might recognize down here, Figure, they invested in. There's one that got turned down though. So this one failed. So pretty cool to see, like, if you're a stakeholder, having your voice heard and where the money's invested. I don't know, this like Figure one. Let's see what that looks like. $350,000 was invested in there. So they're going to continue raising more and more capital, but pretty cool stuff. Here's the breakdown. You can see, why this one, what was up for a vote, and the details of the one that failed. So go and check out Ex Machina, man. They're going to have some more waves of investment. I'm going to be bringing this guy, Mauricio. He's their founder and CEO. He's going to come on my X Space, and not this coming week, but the following Tuesday. And we're in talks about who else to bring on. I said, well, what robotic companies are you the most bullish on? And he said, well, he named 3. Well, he named Gionet Naoki. Okay, so let's be fair. He didn't name those 2, but he named 3 others I want to pull up here that I have not looked into that deeply yet, but I want to bring them up to you guys so they're on your radar. Open Minds, number 1 that you mentioned. So again, these are groups that I think are going to come on that X Space along with Ex Machina. We have BitRobot, which I haven't covered yet either, and Prismax. So 3 robotics companies that this guy, I mean, he's dialed in, guys, to the space. So those are 3 I would recommend following. Again, that's Prismax, BitRobot Network, and Open Mind. So those are 3. I'm going to be doing adequate research before I bring anybody on a space or do an interview. I tend to go down the rabbit hole, let's just say. You got to know what you're talking about when you talk to these folks if you want to keep having people on. That's how it works. All right. Woo. That brings me to the lesson of the day. We're going to talk about the CME gap. And then I'm going to give a shout out to some of my good friends that invited me into their community this week. You guys know who you are if you're watching. Let's talk about the CME gap, though. You've probably seen some of these posts. This guy, he's like, I hate to be that guy, but we have this large CME gap that opened up over the weekend between 117 and 119K. Ideally, we close soon, right? The same thing here. Dump just before the weekend. So when recovery happens over the weekend, we can dump again on Monday to fill the CME gap. I remember, when I saw this originally, I was like, I don't know what a CME gap is, but one day when I have the time, I'll look it up and I'll figure it out. Thinking it was some complicated thing. It's really not. It's really not complicated at all, actually. So the CME, or the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, trades Sunday from 5 p.m. Central Time to Friday, 4 p.m. Central Time for many of their products. So over the course of the weekend, it's closed. Well, as we know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, crypto trades 24/7. So literally all the CME gap is any price movement that happened over the course of the weekend from the time the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, closed on Friday till it opens up on Sunday night. So you get these gaps in the chart. Now, I'll give you an example here of one that took place. Here you go. So you see this gap here where it's disconnected? Well, if you look at the time on here, Friday at market close is where this wick closed. And then over the course of the weekend, we had a sell-off, right? And then here you are, Sunday when it reopens. So that's all that is a gap. Okay, over the course of the weekend when that Chicago Mercantile Exchange is closed while crypto is still trading. Now, I wondered, it tends to close. You tend to retrace and close that gap. It's like, I wonder why that is. So I thought, let's ask XAI. So it said, why these gaps almost always get filled or closed? It says, it's not a real gap in the underlying 24-hour market. The future contract itself traded every tick of the move. The gap only exists on the chart. Okay, so it doesn't actually exist in reality. It's just in the chart it's shown there. It says that professional traders, algos, and market makers know that gap is artificial, but as soon as the risk reward is favorable, they tend to trade it. Okay, so it's almost this self-fulfilling prophecy because they know it's there. They know other people are going to see it, so they trade with the assumption that it's going to close because it tends to close. I know it's crazy. So statistically, 79 to 90% of CME gaps on S&P 500 futures fill within a few days, especially gaps under 1 to 1.5%. So there's a high likelihood these things get filled almost immediately, certainly within a few weeks. But the big thing here, the bottom line, traders exploit the regularity, which becomes self-fulfilling. And this is really the same of really most trading, right? You're looking on the charts. They say it's astrology for males. It's freaking true. But people are looking on the chart for like a head and shoulders pattern. The whole goal, though, is to identify a pattern that other people can see. If you're the only one that sees it, it doesn't matter. All right. It's these different patterns that can be recognized by the masses because people trade the patterns. So if everyone sees the pattern, they're going to trade it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? In most cases, fundamentally, it doesn't even matter. It's really just that other people see the pattern, the male astrology, if you will. All right, guys, to close this thing out, I want to remind you all, Solana Breakpoint is coming up on December 11th through the 13th next week, just following the Fed rate cut on December 10th. How about that? Pay close attention to this. There's going to be some hidden gems that get covered here. That's where I found Osana back in 2023 was at Solana Breakpoint. That's how I got freaking most ridiculous return of my investment life. I'm sure a lot of the projects that I cover, I talk about on my channel, will be there. We'll be presenting. But I'm going to be watching all of the presentations because, guys, it is worthwhile. Okay. I want to call out the Regenerates. I am now part of the community. Check out my NFT. Follow the Regenerates. Follow their page. It's a freaking cool community, guys. They're led by Miss Liz. She's been giving me shout outs so much. Thank you, Liz. And I love the Josh Allen picture. He's my quarterback on my fantasy team, so I need him to take me to Valhalla. Come on, Josh Allen. We got Jed. Jed's the man. Freaking awesome, man. They're such a cool community, and they're hosting spaces all the time. So always talking about cool stuff. Try to jump in there when you can. I've been joining their spaces on Mondays, most Mondays. A couple of spaces, sometimes on Thursdays as well. And of Suburban, Suburban. Follow this guy. And that said, I'll leave you with this. The moves that you're making today are going to be what plants the seed for the future. So and in sales, this is always true, but this is true in real life. If you're experiencing success right now, a lot of that is because of things you did a week ago, a month ago, 6 months ago, right? So if you're slacking right now, your future self is going to be pissed off at yourself, okay? The moves you're making right now, even if you don't see the benefit of it, it's worth it, man. It's worth it to grind right now. Because when the market does recover in 3-6 months from now, hopefully sooner, guys, that is where the work pays off. And you look back and you're like, thank God. Well, everyone was so negative. Everyone was saying the market was dead. Everyone was saying that GPIN's a scam. I held my belief and I was grinding. I was planting those seeds. I'm serious, guys. And that's why in sales, you see these ups and downs. The best salespeople are the consistent ones. If you can bring it every day and be consistent, you see a lot of these people that would have like a bunch of sales one month and you see a big drop off the next month. And that's because while they're closing sales and they, they're have all the money coming in, they're not canvassing, they're not talking to new prospects, right? They're not balancing their time properly. And then, and those sales were really because of the work they did 2 months ago, 3 months ago in the sales cycle. Unfortunately, the next 2 months after that, their sales would be way down. But this is true with everything in life. And you have to find a system that works for you. And I would share something with you guys that has worked for me. And this is something I started doing because I wasn't holding myself accountable on my reading. Okay. So I have this on my calendar front and center when I wake up in the morning. Okay. So I have, for my live streams, for my workouts, and for my reading. And for reading, it's literally just reading 10 pages a day is my minimum to hit this. And some days I read longer, right? But it's just it's the consistency aspect. And I mark it on the calendar, and then I take the days in the month and I divide that into the total number that I've hit, and I get my average per day for the month. And I look at that month to month to see what I hit for that month. And I'll tell you, this has worked for me. You have to come up with your own system. But there have been so many days where if I wasn't tracking this shit, like I'd be like, I'm just not going to read today, or I'm not going to get into the gym today, or I'm not going to go on and do my live stream today. For me, it's a way to have accountability. And it is like right there. When I wake up in the morning, it's the first thing I see, and it motivates me, man. So again, for you guys, like find out whatever system works for you, man. But it's all about consistency. It's all about planting those seeds today. And again, you will thank yourself in the future for that work you're putting in. Let's grind, baby. Go out, touch some grass. For us in Chicago, we're touching snow. Yeah. It's cold. It's cold. Appreciate everyone that joined tonight. Man, we will be back next week. I'm going to post a bunch of videos this weekend. On macro, I'm also going to post a deep and update video that compiles a lot of the different projects that I've covered and the updates for all of them. So you have it all in one spot. It's really easy to find. And then I'll keep clipping stuff and posting on X. That's been going really well. But anyway, all you all in the community, I appreciate each and every one of you guys. This has been a fun journey. I'm excited for us to keep rolling, and I want to keep growing my audience. So appreciate all you guys that are sharing my content and pushing it out there, man. I really do appreciate all you guys. With that said, have a fantastic weekend. Peace out, guys.